Hello and welcome to another episode of Daily Market Mastery with me, Christian Rauchenwald, on this rainy or drizzly or whatever Wednesday. I hope you all had a good start or a good week so far. As always, before we jump into the markets, let's get the usual disclaimer out of the way. Everything that I share in this live stream / video is my personal opinion and in no way financial or professional advice of any kind. You should always do your own research, consult certified professionals, draw your own conclusions, and make your own decisions. Besides that, all the tools that I'm using, so the broker, the charting software, the strategy I'm following, and so on, are all linked in the video description down below. And the one thing I truly recommend if you're here for the first time, outside of liking, subscribing, and enabling notifications, is to check out Elliott Wave Principle, which you can read online for free when you use the link that's in the description down below. That said, we'll jump right into it. As so often, we have a pretty much break-even start into the day, as you can see. Yeah, we yesterday already got to close out our $30 call options for this Friday. So I went ahead and already wrote 5 $30 call options for next Friday. The premium is a little bit disappointing with around, what's that, like, let's say close to $30 in premium for the week. Obviously, it's not that much, but it's still $30 we receive. And unless GameStop shoots to $30 by the end of next week, so by next Friday, we get to keep the $30 and still have our shares as well. Now, where do we start today? I'm not sure. Let's see. What do we have open? Okay, GameStop actually. We can see that we actually broke this trend line here. We're looking a little bit zoomed out at the whole thing. There's still the option that we are going down into the area of that we have marked further down, zooming out into the area of 1530, so that we are actually getting a new push here before we continue to go up. So pretty much nothing changed since our last analysis. And there is the option that we are just seeing a small correction of either this upwards movement, so this move here, or this is part of a bigger correction. Corrective patterns are obviously the usual, or usually the ones that are a little bit harder to label. So we'll have to keep that in mind. I'm actually going to drag the camera a little bit around so to make sure a little bit more is visible on the chart from what we're doing. Let's put it here-ish. Or let's put it here-ish. So if we're looking at downward stuff, have to keep an eye on that. So yeah, so pretty much unchanged in GameStop for that matter. We're still waiting and seeing. Yeah, just wanted to point out that we broke this trend line here, and therefore, yeah, like, you make of that what you will. I'm of the opinion that waiting is the right thing to do here. However, nothing changed in my long-term prediction or outlook that we still have to see another upwards wave as well. However, I said first, we might, if we didn't finish the correction here at this low, then we might get another push into the area here. Now, taking it from the top, Barnes & Noble Educational, we still are above the deceleration trend line that we have here, pointing us towards this being our 5th wave developing, which should bring us to a new high. Yeah, there's not much to say here. If we would want to, maybe actually let's take the time, zoom out a little bit. So yeah, there is still also a scenario possible where I'm completely wrong and we're going down, but either way, the worst case would then be, in my opinion, that we get an ABC pattern, which would still offer some upside. So it's all about taking profits or setting reasonable stop losses in at a profit, maybe a trailing stop at certain points. But there is also the possibility that this is actually the end of the downwards trend, and here we're starting the first big impulsive pattern upwards, which would then, during the next couple of months and so on, actually take us much higher. Short term, nothing's changed, so we still consider that we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pattern here, followed by an ABC that is almost perfect in terms of like price retracement and visual pattern. And which means we again would expect that we are right now in the next 1, 2, maybe 3, 4, 5, which makes wave 1, then we get wave 2, then we get wave 3, wave 4, and wave 5. Specific profit targets, hard to say, but we should go past the $14.39 in the next, what do we have here, June till August, so June, July, August, June, end of June, so basically 2 months. And then this here is also a, like less than 2 months move. So within the next 2 months, we should actually go above 14.30 in the ideal case or scenario. Might be already worth to get rid of some of the information on the chart that is not relevant anymore. So which would be this here, the retracement we can keep up, that we can get rid of, that we can get rid of. And instead of that, we can actually, that we can get rid of. And instead of that, we can actually now add an expansion. That is what we would assume if we are just correcting the downwards movement, but more downwards movement is to come, in which case our profit target would be between $14.19 and $19.76. But $19.76 would be the mark where it's a perfect A, B, C pattern. We can also additionally add a trend line for this first 5-wave impulse and then put it here, and we would also get a perfect time target if it turns out to be a perfect zigzag. It should be finished by December 11 around the 1976 mark. That is, if we are still overall in the downwards pattern and trend, we should, as said, reach at least the 1420 or ideally the 1976 mark, and would then from there go further down. However, if we are done with the overall downwards movement, then this would be just a wave 1, 2, and we would actually have higher profit targets in the area, as we can see, at least here. So the 24.58, and actually the usual profit target would even be much higher, as you can see, about $50. However, then it's possible that we're not talking about 2 months, but we would talk more likely about 6 months to a year for this to happen, which still would be an incredible return. So it would be around 500% in a year potentially. We'll see how that goes. But so far, Barnes & Noble Education Inc. actually follows the pattern relatively nicely, and we only made minor mistakes with the labelings and forecasting of the movement. Now, moving on, let's take a look at Grab. Our Grab calls are slightly in profit finally, so that's a leap call or leaps because it expires more than a year in the future, and it is at the $5 strike price. Now currently we are at 417. We broke the we don't need that anymore. We broke the 404 high of here, making this a potential wave 1, wave 2. 2 might finish here, 2 might be dragged out and finish here. Either way, it should be now the upwards movement. And by January 26, we should actually be substantially higher than we are now. Profit targets would actually be in the 940 to 1088 area, which is quite an upside from when we actually jumped into the trade. Now, obviously, still takes time. I can still be proven wrong, but I think this is how it will play out. So again, targets 942, 1088, so that area in the next couple of months and years. And if I'm right, the $5 call option that I bought should definitely print by then. Moving on, immersion unchanged. We are in a waiting position. So nothing new to add here. Intel, what's Intel doing now going further down? Looks like we've been right with Intel, and especially with the further forecast. I would expect that, as I said, we still might go down to the $20 mark. Unfortunately, the options play that we made here had a too short expiration date. So we lost, I don't know, I think it was $30, maybe it was $50, but it was not a lot, but we lost on the trade. So no, a little bit above 22 cents. Oliver shared yesterday that there will be a shareholder meeting on Friday. We'll see how that affects it. I still, without knowing the latest charts and haven't been able to load it for the last couple of weeks in Motive Wave, I'll still expect, from what I recall off the chart, that we will get another push further down. We'll see if that happens on Friday or on Monday, based on the shareholder meeting or not. Costs, retracing a little bit. Still both ways possible. It's possible that the correction finished here at the 50% mark, and with that we are in our upwards pattern. We would want to break the high here at 879 to have some kind of confirmation that we're indeed in the upwards movement. from the looks of it, I can imagine that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we then get the wave 5 that finally breaks this high and provides us with an additional evidence or piece of information towards the further upwards movement. But it's still possible that we're going further down and we'll get another push down maybe to the 61.8 retracement. So we're just going to hold our shares for now and see how this develops further. NEO moving a little sideways. Looks like we might get a little bit upward movement here from the overall look. So yeah, in my opinion, the correction here is not fully finished yet. It looks more like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we get ABC, and then we get another push down. So right now, still, yeah, like happy that we got out, and I am not considering a re-entry until we have a clearer picture about this correction. One could piece by piece re-enter. Stop loss, however, would need to be down at 3.68. And I would, if at all, enter small right now. I rather miss out a little bit of upward movement and enter later once I have some kind of confirmation that we are indeed in a fifth wave now, then throw the money in and then have to suffer and wait relatively long. Novavax moving a little bit sideways. Yeah, we're still unfortunately, that's something that we got partially wrong, assuming that wave 4 ended here. Entering here with our call options that expire in January, we can see the red line that indicates when they expire, and not taking profits along the way or using at least trailing stop losses or something on that option. So now we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. Either we get another push down to make this some kind of 5-wave movement, which it already could be considering those double candles here, or we're done here and go up from here, or I'm completely wrong. Either way, we'll have to wait. And right now I don't see a reason to take the small loss on the option because it anyway has a limited maximum loss. Yeah, because we can only lose the premium we paid, and I still believe that we should still get another wave up. The question will be, will that wave up happen in time before the options expire in January? Oh, yeah. With that, I'm gonna hydrate a little bit. Don't forget to hydrate when you're spending a lot of time in front of the computer. We see a little drop in NVIDIA. I'm not fully sure what yesterday's verdict was in that case, but I'm actually going to have to move the camera in that case, but down here. So you can see this little drop here, which is yesterday was the 21st, and so yesterday's we were already dropping a little bit. Now we're dropping a little bit more. I think we are correcting this move here right now from the looks of it, which would point towards we should still go down to 138.48. Now it's possible still that we get an upwards push because at the end we need an ABC movement. It's possible that the correction already finishes here to 21.4 retracement, of course, so it's always possible that I'm wrong in some aspect. But I think overall there still has to be one more wave upwards, because from what I see, this is 5 waves, 3 waves, 5 waves. We would expect another 3 waves, 5 waves up. Yeah, would it be a good time to enter? Maybe in small tranches already, but usually we would expect to retrace a little further. So 38.2 retracement, 50, 61.8 retracement, those would be the areas to consider. Considering that very often a corrective wave will retrace into the area of wave 4 of the previous impulse wave of a lower degree. So basically in this area here, I would probably right now not enter at all, or maybe only very, very small, and instead then enter at the 50% retracement line with another smaller entry to average down at the 61.8 retracement. Stop loss could theoretically be at 128.74 if somebody wants to limit the risk. Other than that, it would need to be at 100.95. If we are considering the option that it's possible that we're retracing this entire thing here. Yeah, which I don't know, if we're tracing that entire thing here, we would actually expect to go down to here. So yeah, it might be the safer play. I mean, pending loss might be there for some time, but yeah, like makes it less likely to be just partially wrong and taking a loss when then holding a couple more days or weeks would have actually resulted in a nice, decent profit. But yeah, like, yeah, I mean, we're only dealing with patterns and probabilities. We're not dealing with guarantees. So do what you will with your money. I'm not exposed to NVIDIA right now, so I'm just telling you what I think is going to, or how the pattern is going to develop. If I'm right, we'll see in the future. So it's kind of like the weather of today, I'll tell you tomorrow. Or the weather for tomorrow, I'll tell you in 2 days, yeah, something like that. But yeah, so right now I think there's still room up, but we have to consider that this correction here might be bigger than just correcting this move, but correcting this, or maybe even the whole thing, although the whole thing wouldn't make much sense. So if at all, I think we're correcting this. So yeah, I think the middle ground would be stop loss at 114.70 to account for the possibility that we're correcting this, in which case we would expect to go down to this 50% retracement at 130. So one could enter between now and the 130 mark. Yeah. If we are only correcting this here, then the entries at 130 would obviously not trigger, and but this way it would be with enough options to average down in case it turns out to be the bigger retracement. And yeah, fifth wave should then actually be, considering that those movements both seem equal, I would expect the fifth wave to be shorter. I mean, we should still then go somewhere up here. So there's still upside. Yeah, that's it about NVIDIA for now, I would say. If we move on, SMCI is probably unchanged. Yeah, so entries would have been possible here already. I don't like the pattern. I think there should be more downside to come. It's possible that this is 1, 2, and then here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For 1, 2, 3. Now we're getting wave 4. Wave 4 might already be finished, and then we get a 5 wave down. For only wave A, then we get wave B, and wave C takes us to 38.2. I just dislike the fact that, first of all, we actually made it to the maximum expected area for a wave C. If that would be ABC, usually we expect minimum target to optimal target, so somewhere in that area, maybe a little bit more. It's possible, yeah, that the correction is finished here and that we're going up. And we bounced here at the 21.4 retracement more or less, so have some upwards movement. But I think the more likely scenario is that this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, and then we get another push down to the 38.2 retracement at least, or close to that, which would bring us into the area of a previous retracement of a previous impulse as well. Not sure if that's wave 4. We would have to label the rest for it, but so this area here would kind of like check better as an entry point. Yeah, shorting right now doesn't make too much sense because stop loss would need to be at 100, 140, which is like already 100% risk, and the reward obviously is not 100%. Moving on, let's go to SPY. Here we again bounced from the deceleration trend line that we have here on the chart. ABC. Question will be, will this turn into 1, 2 and we get wave 3 up, or will this turn into just part of the correction? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we get an ABC, and then we get another 5 wave push down. We haven't reached the 38.2 retracement under the assumption that we are correcting this entire move, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think right now there's still downside to come. Short term, long term, there should be still one more wave up, because that should be 1, 2, 3, almost perfectly in the 261.8 extension, and 4, also based on Kennedy channeling technique, that would be the accurate labeling right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 4 not finished yet, yeah, but 4, and then we still get wave 5. So it's possible that entries right now might have to carry through some pending losses for some time. But again, I expect that we get another push up. Stop loss should be, in that case, at the low here at 560, 580. And take profit will depend on where this potential 4th wave terminates. Now, if we're already done with the correction, so if this here is our entire wave 4, possible for that we would need to get a push up here, then we would assume profit targets like this. So 592 to, or wrong button, sorry, or misclicked, 592 to 601.7. Yeah. However, if we first are going down further, you can see how that modifies the potential target area. So that's going to be the big question. Yeah. Based on Kennedy channeling technique, we could start entering position once we break out from this deceleration trend line. So breakout, we trace a little bit and then have the breakout confirmed by not closing candles below that line. That would be a point to consider then entries for further upward movement. Obviously, entering now in that case would be cheaper, but only if we're right. One could make a short-term gamble and have the stop loss at the low here at 580.05, enter here 581, so it's not a huge risk factor. And if indeed the correction is finished here, we'd have decent upside, but the safer play would be to wait for the confirmation that we're in the fifth wave and or having the stop loss down here, which would, however, carry more risk with it. Now, moving on, not NVIDIA, but the NASDAQ going up a little bit. Question will be, I think, oh no, actually here we're going down. Yeah, I just want to say I didn't see that red spot here at first, but from the looks of it, I think that this is one A, B, C, and now we're still getting wave C. So this here is not finished yet, in my opinion, but instead we, under the assumption that this asset is wave A down, wave B up, we should still go down to 20,154 or 19,982, which would bring us to almost the 61.8 retracement, which would be kind of fitting. So A, B, C to correct this wave, and then we get the next push up. So if one would, sorry guys, if one were to short it now, the stop loss could be at 20,437.93. And as said, take profit would need to be, so one would need to consider taking profit starting at 20,154 down to 19,956. But considering the levels that we have on the chart, I would actually expect that those are the usual suspects. So correcting down till here. And then from there, we'll get another 5 waves up. And then actually, surprise, surprise, that actually already concludes today's summary of everything. There is no, there are no requests in the chat to look at specific stocks, and as so often, I'm still playing catch up with the rest of my to-do list. Yeah, so good news from the side of my to-do list. We finally narrowed down on the, it's obviously not trading related, but relating to our other businesses. We finally narrowed down the candidates for project management out of the 4 that we invited from interviews, for interviews and test tasks. 3 seem suitable. 1 is standing out with great English skills and not critical mind, but at least asking questions and so on. I just have to clarify a few things because there's a 50% difference in the hourly rate between what certain candidates that we would consider ask. But with some luck, by the end of the week, we will have our new project manager hired, which on one hand is nice because it means we'll get some structure into our projects, the requirements, and I can delegate some tasks in terms of finding suitable agencies to deliver on those projects. On the other hand, it also means that next week I will be likely slammed with additional calls to actually have almost endless previewings with the project manager to walk him through all the projects and ideas and the connections between them and so on, to provide him with the information that he needs to do his job. Now, outside of that, fingers crossed, there's also a small chance that between January and February, we're going, between December and January, we're going to move. Friends of us, I'm not sure if I shared before, friends of us are going to, or are actually bought their own house now, and they're moving out of their apartment, and their apartment is actually in a slightly better location than our current apartment. Looks nicer, has, yeah, like it comes with garden and a garage and other stuff that our current apartment doesn't have. And if we consider the price that we have to pay for our current apartment and the price that, or the monthly rent for our current apartment and the monthly rent for their apartment, it would be a reasonable choice to move, even though it comes with expenses for moving and so on. I get that. But yeah, tomorrow we get to meet the landlord, and depending on how that goes, we may or may not be able to sign the contract for the new apartment and then move in, yeah, like January, maybe sooner, but January would be what we're aiming for. And yeah, so yeah, like cross your fingers for me, or I don't know, like in Germany you would say Daumen drücken, so like pressing your thumbs, that conversation tomorrow goes well, because I really would like that new apartment. But yeah, it would give us maybe the possibility that we have a little bit more space in the office to actually set up the streaming and recording corner a little bit separate with better background and so on. Not that it makes a huge difference for the content of the stream, but just for the visual appearance of the streams and the recordings. But again, like fingers crossed for that. And as I said, that's it. Don't forget, like, subscribe, enable notifications. And if you haven't done so, I really recommend it. Check out the Elliott Wave Principle. You can read it for free online. You don't have to buy the book if you don't want to. You can literally just read it for free if you use the link in the description down below. And for me personally, ever since I started blowing up my first couple of trading accounts, I don't know how many years ago, probably 10 years ago, maybe longer. Yeah. This has been the strategy that I've been looking for a long time, because I'm not sure if I shared it, probably already did, but I used to, when I still was working in e-commerce as an e-commerce consultant, I used to have a client that was trading Forex a lot and actually nailed entries and exits so often, almost perfectly. So like predicting lows and highs with incredible accuracy. But unfortunately, he didn't know what the strategy that he's using is called. And because he was has a background as an immigrant, his German is not flawless and English doesn't exist for him. And he wasn't able to explain it to me in a way that it made sense. And then only years later, after repeated searches for what's the strategy he's following there, I actually discovered the book about it. And yeah, like while I've also made mistakes and I've been wrong a couple of times and whatnot, for me personally, it turned out to be the most accurate prediction and forecasting method that I could find so far. But yeah, that's it. Again, thanks for stopping by. Have a great rest of the day, and then see you all tomorrow. Oh no, tomorrow there might be no stream. That's an important piece. I almost forgot. Tomorrow there might be no stream because again, in the afternoon we will meet with our potentially new landlord. But we don't know when exactly, so it's possible that there is no stream tomorrow. If that's the case, we would see each other on Friday, around 5 minutes before market open, with another episode of Daily Market Mastery. But again, that's why you should hit not only like, thumbs up, but also subscribe and enable notifications so you get an email when the next stream happens. Now, yeah, that's it. Till next time, have a great day. Bye-bye.